from Road Racing DP here, and it's the next in line of the series of wheel settings videos that I'm doing all the separate classes on different videos. So for these I've used Jack Spade's workings that he's done. There's 4 different settings that he's got. I'm using the 66% SOP lateral settings. Now before you do apply the settings to the car, make sure that in options again, controls, you go to calibrate force feedback, put your tyre force at 100% and match up these settings. Feel free to take snapshots. So these snapshots is what you're going to need to do while watching this video, because I am going to thrash through it fairly quick. Yeah, make sure your tyre force is at 100%. If you do find your wheel is way too heavy, once you put the other settings on, reduce tyre force. Also make sure that in configuration you scroll down and put force feedback at 100%. Those two together do work quite well. But if you do those and then don't do the settings that we're about to do on the cars, your wheel will just feel very, very heavy. Okay, so this video's class of cars shall be, we've already done the road cars, touring cars, GT cars, so let's do the prototypes. So the Alpine A450. Now I've already put all of the setups on the car, so I'm going to go to edit current setup, but for yourselves you'll need to do create new setup. So for me, edit current setup, and I've already put all the settings on, so get ready to take your screenshots, hit pause and take pictures of these. You'll find that in these prototype class quite a few of these settings do change from car to car, so don't expect to be able to just put this car's settings on all of the other cars in the class. It will not necessarily work. I mean, you can try if you like, but you're probably wasting your time. But there we go. Okay, so there's the settings for the Alpine A450. So on to the next car, into Audi's, the R18 TDI. Very, very fast car, but a very strange car to drive as well, with it being the diesel. It doesn't sound fast, but here's the settings for these cars. So once again, hit pause and take your screenshots. Now for myself, with these settings, I haven't tried these settings on all of the cars yet, but on the cars that I have tried, I have found it makes a big difference to what you can feel on the wheel and to the potential lap times that you can get. Obviously though, you will need to apply these settings, go to racetracks and still work on the settings of the car, the actual car setup, the aerodynamics, the ride height, the cambers and all those kind of things. So don't expect to just whack these on and expect to go really, really fast straight away, but you should feel a difference. Admittedly, on the car, some of the cars I've used with these settings, going from not having these settings on, alright, there's the Caterham SP300 for you. Yeah, not having these settings on, kind of getting used to that, and then putting these settings on. It did take me a few laps to get used to the new settings, but once you get a little used to it, you can actually start to feel what the wheel is telling you. It does seem to give you a bit more sense of what is happening at the rear end of the car. And a good example of that as well is I found going down the long straight at the Nordschleife, I could definitely feel every tiny little bump and bit of rubber that the car went over. I did find it to be a very sensitive feel through the wheel, and quite nice as well. Okay, so that was the Marek RP219 LMP2. So we'll go to the LMP1. So I'm going to thrash through these fairly quick because I am limited on recording time on the PS4. I am doing this on the PS4, but I have been informed, or have been told, that these settings should work PC and also Xbox on all wheels, but obviously different people have different driving styles, prefer different feels, so you may find that this isn't necessarily ideal for yourself, but then that could be down to tweaking the actual car setup a little bit to get the maximum out of it. Okay, so there's the two Marecs covered, and we shall now go into the Oreca Nissan. I do like these LMP2 open top cars. I like the way they look, I like the way they drive. Obviously not as quick as the LMP1s, but still very nice cars to drive. The LMP1s definitely my favourite cars on the game. Very, very fast and have a massive amount of grip, lots of downforce. I've definitely found them the most enjoyable or most satisfying cars to drive. One of the most enjoyable, I would say, is the Sierra Cosworth. I do like the way that just looks, sounds and handles. It is a beast, it's all over the place, but it is enjoyable. Having said that, the Lotus 98T, I love driving that car as well. Okay, so the Jaguar Palmer, here's the settings for this car, and like I say, quite a few of the settings will differ from car to car. And even class to class. I have noticed that while I have been applying all of these settings to the cars, especially, I mean, something like the go-karts, the settings in there are very different to all of the other cars on the game. Some of the older cars, their settings are very different compared to some of the newer cars, but there we go. Okay, the settings then for the P20 LMP2, there you are, take your pictures, because it won't be there for long. Let's say I'm just going to try and get through it as quick as possible. It takes quite some time to apply all of these settings to the cars, which is why I've sort of split it up into doing these shorter videos. Okay, on to the RWD P30 LMP1. This is my favourite car of the game. This is the one I enjoy driving the most. Okay, into the setup for this one. And there we go, there's the settings, take your pictures. Ooh, excuse me. It's about time I got myself some breakfast. But I've been attacked by the dogs. I've been dog sitting while I'm doing this, which is why I've not been live streaming the last few days. And every time I go into the kitchen I just get jumped on, so I've not really eaten much the last 2 days. Okay, there's the settings then for the P30. So on to the Radical then. 2 cars left to go in the prototype class, and here's the settings for the SR3-RS. So there you go, and on to the final car for this class then. And then after this, we've got the next video will be for the open wheelers, and then after that I should do the go-karts and the stock car together, and then that'll be all of them covered. Okay, so the SR8-RX Radical, there we go for the settings for this car. As I mentioned, the last in the class. Hopefully people are finding these videos very, very helpful. I mean, I was told about the Jack Spade's workings by Kev 187, and when I took screenshots of the document that has all the information on, oh my goodness, it is a bit confusing, and there's so many numbers on there, it's so easy to lose where you actually are, which is why I decided to sort of do these videos, because a lot of people aren't going to want to go and look on a link, get confused by all the technical jargon that's on there. They want to just see what it is and apply it. So hopefully these videos have helped. Right, like I say, next up will be the open wheelers. So if you have found this very, very helpful, by all means watch that as well. I have covered road cars, touring cars, GT cars, and now the prototypes. So on to the final ones. So all that's left to say is I'm Front Row Racing DP, otherwise known as Dave, as well as a few other things. Thanks for watching, and I hope this has helped.